Power does not belong to the loudest voice in the room. It belongs to the one who speaks the least and listens the most. A man who controls his tongue controls the perception of his strength. The world assumes power from mystery. The more you say, the more predictable you become, and predictability is the death of influence. Silence, when properly mastered, forces others to project their thoughts onto you. They assume, they wonder. They try to decipher your motives, yet all they find is a cold, unreadable surface. This confusion makes you powerful. Most people use words as a tool to gain validation or display intelligence. They speak to be seen, they speak to be heard. But the moment they open their mouth, they expose their mind, revealing insecurities, intentions, limits, and weaknesses. Their words become a map for others to navigate and manipulate them. The fool believes words are strength. The strategist knows words are currency, and the less you spend, the richer you remain. Those who talk excessively turn every conversation into a confession. The desire to be understood becomes a noose. Their language becomes a weapon against themselves, used not by accident, but by design. A single word can betray a plan. A single phrase can unravel a carefully cultivated persona. Once spoken, words cannot be unsaid. They linger in the minds of others, replayed, dissected, twisted, and used. Silence, on the other hand, leaves no evidence. Power is sustained through perception, and perception is manipulated by mystery. A man who says little allows others to fill in the gaps of his silence with their own assumptions, usually projecting strength, confidence, or depth. This illusion is often more powerful than any reality. But the moment you speak too much, you shatter the illusion. You place yourself in the hands of their judgment. The strong do not reveal, they conceal. They do not explain, they let their actions speak. And even then, they allow others to draw their own conclusions. Even in moments of victory, the wise man does not boast. He does not expose the process. He lets others wonder how he succeeded. He lets his silence echo louder than the noise of applause. For even the smallest explanation gives enemies ammunition. The man who reveals his methods once becomes predictable forever. Silence protects strategies. Words invite sabotage. In negotiations, silence destabilizes. It makes others uncomfortable. It forces them to speak more than they should, to reveal their own positions, to fill the void with desperation. The one who can hold the silence longest becomes the one in control. In this way, silence is not just absence of sound. It is a sword. It slices through lies, exposes insecurity, and carves a space where only the strong can survive. In war, in politics, in personal dealings, control of speech is the first test of discipline. If a man cannot control his own mouth, he cannot be trusted with power. He is impulsive, reactionary, ruled by the moment rather than the mission. His speech becomes the voice of his inner weakness. But the one who restrains, the one who measures every word like it, costs him a drop of blood. He is the one others fear, because they cannot read him, they cannot predict him. They cannot defend against what they cannot understand. To remain silent when others expect speech is to assert dominance. It is an act of defiance, of control, of total ownership over one's image. It teaches people that your attention and your voice must be earned, not assumed. It rewires the social order. Silence becomes your throne, and others, desperate for your words, become your subjects. The one who speaks least is often heard the most, not because of volume, but because of scarcity. And in a world addicted to noise, scarcity of speech is the most valuable resource of all. Emotion is the enemy of calculation. The man who speaks under the influence of anger, jealousy, fear, or desperation hands his mind over to his enemies on a silver platter. In moments of emotional intensity, the tongue becomes uncontrollable, and what escapes it can never be pulled back. Those who cannot master their emotions will find their power scattered across the battlefield before the war even begins. The voice that trembles with rage or cracks with sorrow is not a display of strength. It is a broadcast of vulnerability. Anger, especially, is the most seductive trap. It whispers in your ear that you are justified, that now is the time to speak, to react, to strike back with words. But nothing serves your opponents more than your emotional outburst. It reveals what wounds you. It shows where your armor cracks. It tells them precisely what strings to pull next time. You believe you are defending yourself, but you are only exposing yourself. You believe you are asserting dominance, but you are only confirming that you can be controlled. There is a particular weakness in those who cannot remain silent when provoked. The world is filled with provocateurs, people who thrive on reactions. They poke, they prod, and the moment your emotions rise, they win, because they have pulled you out of control. And when your emotions dictate your words, your enemies no longer need to read your mind. They only need to listen. They will memorize the words you spoke in weakness and repeat them when it suits them, twisting them into weapons that will wound you later. Even in grief, even in heartbreak, the instinct to speak, to pour out the pain, is a trap. It may feel cathartic at the moment, but it is also a confession. People will nod, pretend to understand, then later use those very same admissions to judge or manipulate you. The wise do not seek relief through speech. They turn their pain into silence, and from that silence they forge discipline. Emotion, when concealed, becomes energy. When expressed recklessly, it becomes evidence. Strategic silence is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to give the world access to your inner state. It is a wall behind which emotions can be observed, tamed, weaponized if necessary, but never given away freely. Most people bleed emotions from the mouth, draining themselves of power with every sentence. The powerful observe their feelings like a king watches the battlefield, not reacting to every move, but planning the next decisive strike. The one who cries out in moments of loss or shouts in moments of offense does not inspire fear. He inspires pity, or worse, disdain. But the one who remains composed while storms rage inside is seen as untouchable, because he has proven that even when struck, he does not flinch. Even when wounded, he does not scream, and in that restraint, he becomes terrifying. He becomes unreadable. He becomes untouchable. Words spoken under emotional pressure are not strategic. They are raw, unfiltered, and often regrettable. They escape without permission, revealing truths that weaken your position. The enemy does not need to torture you for information if he can simply provoke you. And so, the wise man treats his emotions like wild beasts. He does not let them roam freely. He trains them to serve in silence. To share your thoughts with those who do not deserve them is to build ladders for your own downfall. The foolish man believes that knowledge is meant to be spread freely, that wisdom must be shared without caution. But in a world governed by ambition, rivalry, and hidden motives, to educate another is to arm them, sometimes against yourself. Every insight you reveal, every lesson you teach, becomes a tool in the hands of those who might one day oppose you. There is a silent arrogance in thinking that others will use what you teach in your favor. The envious listen carefully, not to admire, but to imitate, to outmaneuver, to strike. When you reveal your mindset, your strategies, your inner mechanics, you turn your own mind into a textbook for the enemy to study. And worse, you grant them the luxury of bypassing the suffering it took for you to learn. They get your fire without burning their fingers. They get your victories without bleeding them. In this way, generosity becomes self-sabotage. There are many who pretend to admire you, who ask questions not out of respect, but curiosity laced with hidden agendas. They want access to what you know, not to grow under your shadow, but to escape it. To use your words, your frameworks, your wisdom as a weapon to break free and stand above you. You may think you're mentoring, leading, guiding, but often you're merely training the very wolf that will one day circle back and bare its teeth at you, and it will know exactly where to strike, because you were the one who showed it where you are soft. Fools, too, should never be taught. Correcting the ignorant often feels righteous, but it is a dangerous illusion. Fools are not simply lacking in knowledge, they are hostile to wisdom. When you try to explain the truth to them, they do not listen to learn. They listen to argue, to mock, or to twist your words into absurdity. You leave the exchange drained, while they walk away entertained or emboldened. You think you've elevated them. Instead, they've pulled you down into their pit. Worse still, they may echo your teachings later in rooms you'll never enter, corrupting your words, distorting your meaning, claiming your insights as their own while smearing your name in the same breath. There is also danger in revealing your plans too early. Some people ask about your goals not to support you, but to sabotage. They smile while they listen, and then disappear into the shadows to find a way to block your path. They do not need to defeat you if they can simply delay you. They do not need to outthink you if they can predict you. And if you continue to speak freely, to outline your steps, to educate everyone around you, you become a transparent figure in a world that rewards opacity. The truly strategic individual understands that information is power only when it is scarce. You do not give away your playbook. You do not correct those who are beneath correction. You do not offer your thoughts to those who would use them to compete, discredit, or replace you. Your mind is your fortress. Every idea you share must be guarded like gold. Every answer you give must be filtered through calculation. Not every question deserves an answer. Not every admirer is a friend. Not every listener deserves to be a student. The most dangerous man is not the one who acts openly, but the one who moves silently beneath the surface. Power is not only in the execution, it lies in the secrecy that precedes it. A plan seen is a plan blocked. An intent revealed is a threat neutralized. Once your desires are spoken, they become targets. The world begins to work against what it understands, and it fears what it cannot predict. This is why your intentions must remain cloaked, invisible, layered beneath distractions, and protected by ambiguity. The mistake most people make is believing that honesty builds trust. In truth, it builds vulnerability. When you tell someone what you want, you give them control over you. They now know what to deny, what to obstruct, and where to strike. Your transparency becomes a roadmap they can weaponize. The more people know about your direction, the more obstacles will mysteriously appear in your path. It is not coincidence, it is orchestration. And you are the one who wrote the script by speaking too soon. There is a silent power in misdirection. The world watches your mouth, but the wise make their moves with their hands. Say one thing, do another. Make your goals appear small and harmless, while your true ambitions remain buried deep in the shadows. Let others think you are satisfied with little. Let them believe you are distracted, unfocused, disorganized, while in reality, every step you take is part of a greater design. The moment they sense your true aim, they will attempt to stop it. But if they never see it coming, they cannot prepare for its arrival. People are obsessed with knowing. They question, they observe, they pry not out of care, but out of control. They want to reduce you to something predictable. And most fall into the trap of explaining themselves, of justifying, of being understood. But those who seek to be understood rarely rise. They are too busy offering their strategy to those who will dismantle it. The man who conceals intent, who answers with riddles or silence, becomes a mystery, and in mystery there is protection. Every empire that has risen in silence has endured longer than those built under the scrutiny of watchful eyes. Revolutionaries who whisper grow stronger than those who shout. A snake strikes hardest when it is hidden in the grass, not when it hisses in warning. Likewise, your intentions must slither beneath the noise masked by neutrality or misdirection. Even your closest allies should not be certain of your deepest objectives. Loyalty can be temporary, and even the loyal can be careless with what you reveal. There is also a psychological advantage in concealment. When people cannot read you, they grow uncertain. When they do not know what you're after, they cannot manipulate you. They begin to doubt themselves, they second, guess, they hesitate, and in that hesitation you gain the edge. Your silence becomes their anxiety. Your vagueness becomes their paranoia. You do not even need to act. Your mystery alone begins to corrode their confidence. Because people fear what they cannot see, and they respect what they cannot understand. To reveal is to risk. To conceal is to control. Intentions are sacred, they are the seeds of your future. If exposed too early, they can be plucked, poisoned, or trampled by those who envy what they do not possess. Keep them buried until they grow into something undeniable. Let your actions speak only when the outcome is irreversible. Until then, let your face wear masks. Let your words be foggy. Let your enemies prepare for battles you have no intention of fighting, while your real war is waged silently, in shadows they never thought to look. Truth is not sacred in a world built on agendas. It is dangerous, volatile, and often unwelcome. People do not seek truth, they seek comfort, validation, and reassurance. When you speak the truth, especially in rooms filled with self-interest, fragile egos, and veiled ambitions, you do not enlighten, you provoke. What you think is honesty, they perceive as a threat. What you believe is transparency, they experience as judgment. And the price of that discomfort is often your isolation, your reputation, or your influence. The one who carries truth like a torch through darkness must expect to be burned, not by the truth itself, but by those who fear its light. When you expose reality to those who thrive in illusion, you invite retaliation. They will not thank you. They will punish you. They will call you arrogant, bitter, or disruptive. Not because you are wrong, but because you have disrupted the balance of lies that made them feel safe. Most people are not ready to confront themselves, and when you speak truth, you become the mirror they wish to break. To reveal the truth is to make yourself a target. When you point out weakness, corruption, or incompetence, even with the purest intentions, you declare war on the structures that protect those flaws. And power does not tolerate those who threaten its illusion. You may believe truth will earn you respect, but in many cases, it earns you enemies. Enemies who smile in public but sharpen their knives in private. Enemies who will not argue with you directly, but will erode your position silently until you are discredited, dismissed, or erased. The naive believe that truth is self-evident, that once spoken, it must be accepted. But truth rarely travels alone. It brings consequences. Relationships fracture, opportunities vanish, doors close, and the world moves on, not in gratitude, but in silent punishment for what you dared to say. The truth teller is rarely rewarded in his time. Often he is left behind, misunderstood, or replaced by someone more agreeable, because those in power prefer a convenient lie over a disruptive fact. Silence, then, becomes a shield. To withhold the truth is not always cowardice. It is calculation. It is understanding that not every room deserves the rawness of reality. Some battles are not worth fighting, some minds are not worth awakening, and some truths, if revealed, do more damage than good. The strong man knows when to speak, but more importantly, when to remain silent. He picks his moments with precision. He delivers truth only when it is more powerful than the consequences it will provoke. There is also a kind of intoxication in being the one who knows. Knowledge itself is a throne, but to speak too freely of what you see, what you understand, is to give that throne away. People will use your truths without credit. They will take your insights and repackage them under their own name. And worse, they will twist them, dilute them, or weaponize them. Your truth becomes their tool, and your silence would have preserved its purity. Most truth is not rejected because it is false, but because it is inconvenient. It demands change. It disrupts narratives. It creates discomfort, and people cling to comfort like it's survival. When you remove that illusion, you remove their security. And in doing so, you become the threat, not the ignorance, not the lie, but you. This is the paradox of truth. It is noble, but it is rarely welcomed. It is valuable, but it is costly. And in a world of masks, those who speak without one must prepare to be silenced by those who cannot face the reflection you force them to see. Power is not found in the noise of your voice, but in the discipline of your silence. Every word you speak reveals a piece of your mind, a fragment of your strategy, a glimpse into your vulnerabilities. The world is not neutral. It is filled with eyes that watch, ears that listen, and minds that calculate. In such a world, silence is not a weakness. It is a form of warfare. To know when to speak is wisdom. To know when to remain silent is mastery. Those who protect their thoughts, who conceal their motives, who refuse to bleed emotion or educate their adversaries, these are the individuals who rise, endure, and dominate. Speech may be silver, but silence crafted, strategic, and impenetrable is a throne no one can take from you.